when I say that I'm uber excited to be here. I'm Trace Carter. This is another episode of the Future Makers podcast. Listen, I'm here today with CC the Great. She is CEO of the world's first after-school cosmetology program. She is a two-time #1 international best-selling author. Get it correct. She's also a very proud native of the Fort Worth, Texas. We're going to explore conversations around how her revolutionary program can be applied to so many different trades. We're going to talk about how, as a co-salon owner and just parents, how we are supporting raising the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited to introduce CC the Great. Be here.
I feel wonderful, amazing, ecstatic, all the words, all the things. I'm excited.
I probably should have corrected feel good to be here. I'm in your city.
You are in my city.
Yeah.
And welcome to Texas. Welcome to Fort Worth, where everything is better. And not just bigger, but better.
As someone who's never been to Fort Worth,
Sure.
before we get all into our
Okay.
nuanced conversation, what are some things about Fort Worth that you need to educate me on? What are you proud of
Then,
about your
although
city?
we do enjoy riding horses, everyone is not on a horse. Because
That's fair.
everywhere I go, and people are like, y'all just ride horses. We will ride a horse. I'm afraid of horses. You won't catch me on a horse, but we're amazing people. We're dope in every way that you can think of. Because we're small but big. That's my favorite thing. Like, we're a large city, but it's like community and family all at the same time. So I'm proud of it.
Super dope. I want to start by asking you, where did the origin of your program begin? Can you take me back to where you were in your headspace? What were you solving for? Where was the origin of your program come from?
So the origin of Next Level Cosmetology Camp for Kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it happened a few ways. Actually, the year before I started it, well, I wanted to start it a year earlier than I started, but I almost died. Okay. So I had this dope idea. I was like, they have baseball camp and science camp and rocket camp, whatever kind of camps you can think of. How come they don't have a camp for kids to learn cosmetology? I've been doing hair since I was 11 years old. And so I started to think about that, and I said, well, they don't have it. You should create it. And so that's what I did. But the year that I was supposed to create it, like I said, I was in the hospital battling septicism
Wow.
or whatever they call it. I was literally about to clock out.
And how old were you at this time, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind. 40. So about 35.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't that long
Wow.
ago.
Wow.
And so I healed. I wrote my second best-selling book, and then I went to one of my friends here in Fort Worth, and I said, I want to start a Cosmo camp, but my salon is too small to use the space for it. And he said, such and such owes me a favor. Put their address on there and start it. And that's what we did. And the first year we had 30 kids join Cosmo Camp on the east side of Fort Worth. We put on the world's first kids hair show. My kids had celebrities come to speak to them like Tamala Mann. We bring all kinds of dope people from every area of every industry because I don't really know who they're going to become. So you're at cosmetology camp, but you may be a lawyer. You may be an attorney. You may be a doctor, a veterinarian. So I try to bring in all of these different types of backgrounds and people just to cultivate the next generation. Because even if you're not going to be a cosmetologist, cosmetology can be a catalyst to get to where you want to be. So that was my thing about it, too. You don't need a license to do makeup anymore. You don't need a license to braid. And so I'm like, shoot, at 11 years old, you should be making $60 an hour.
Hey.
Period.
Yeah.
And so I teach my kids that at 11 years old, a broke hairstylist makes $1 a minute. So they're not paying for your age, they're paying for your talent. So that's where it kind of came from.
I want to go back to, you said you were doing hair at 11. Tell me about your introduction and how you got into the hair game. And then, because I do want to connect the dot to your program and the unique elements of it. Like, what is it about your program? If you could unpack that experience, how is it transformative and what are those unique elements?
Okay, so the first question was
how you got into the hair game as an 11-year-old.
Yes. Okay, so my mom can low key do hair. Every woman
Low key?
Low key. She real low key with it.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah, low key. But every woman in my family just about can do hair. But I am the only one who went to school for it. But I remember when I figured out that I could do hair, my mom took us to the beauty shop every week. And if she didn't take us to the salon, then she did it. But I remember sitting there and I was like, I can do that. I could just feel what she was doing with my hair. Matter of fact, she was doing pin curl ponytail. And I was like, I could do this. I feel it. And then just based off that feeling, I went home and told my sister, let me do this on your hair. And I could just feel it. I don't have to see it. I could just feel you in my hair. And I'm like, okay, I can create that. I always say being a cosmetologist is like being a singer. You're born with it. You can go to cosmetology school and they can teach you how to do a 45-degree angle haircut or how to roll a perm, but either it's in you and of you. If it's not in you and not just on you, but in you and of you, then you shouldn't go to cosmetology school. I actually told a couple kids when I was teaching cosmetology, or women, grown women, girl, if you don't like doing hair, then it's going to feel like it feels at every other job you hate. Like it has to be a love.
Facts.
It has to be a talent. You have to be born with it. And so we don't teach you how to do hair at cosmetology school. Actually, no shade, but all the shade to most cosmetology schools. They don't really teach you anything. You just have to go and get what you need and get up out of there.
I observed, because I went to cosmetology school after having a established career in the banking industry. And what I observed looking back is the cosmetology training is really geared to just help you pass the certification training. It really isn't geared to optimize success in the industry.
Yeah,
so
and also it barely teaches you how to pass cosmetology. That was the first thing that I did.
I was trying to give you a little credit.
We ain't gonna look. Future Makers Podcast.
Maybe in Ohio. It could be
well,
a little,
maybe this might be a Fort Worth thing.
Yeah.
And I love my city, but there are things that the city could do better. In cosmetology, this is a billion. We're
beauty industry.
Yes, we make
massive.
money even at the lowest level. So if I go to cosmetology school, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I graduated #1 in my class. They wrote a story about me, and I opened up my first salon a week later.
Hey.
Yeah, but I did that all on my own. My teachers were terrible.
Wow.
I don't clock it.
I mean,
yeah, they lacked passion, and they were coming in with their own personal problems and letting it bleed out onto the other women. And you know, I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I'm a light. I'm excited to be here.
Energy,
they almost crushed my soul.
Yeah.
I had a dope idea before we saw the salon buses and all of that. The name of mine was gonna be Glamour on the Go. Before I told my mom I wanted to be the geek squad of cosmetology.
Hey.
And I hadn't seen it yet.
That still sounds like it could
we
be a little
could.
segment
yes,
now.
like literally. But I went to my teacher and I said, I want to have like a cosmetology bus, like where I'm doing hair and stuff like that. She was like, well, TDLR won't be able to track you. And we see now it's everywhere. She did me a favor. I said, I'm going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. From now on, if I have an idea, I'm just going to jump off the porch and somebody going to have to say, ma'am, you need a license for that. Or you know.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. And, well, let me go against you because now we don't need a license to do makeup and braids. Thanks to Isis Brandley and Lisette Waugh, who are both friends of mine. And they both live here in Texas.
Hey.
Right? So that's what I mean by we're amazing. We're the best.
That's real.
But cosmetology school, and I'm not speaking for all of them, but the ones that I've experienced and the cosmetologists that I have spoke to, we could do a better job of really providing the tools that's needed, not just having people take out loans and failing out of school, or we're passing, but you don't know, you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know how to be a business owner. So I'm sorry, but I got.
No, I'm tapping in with that energy.
Okay.
I want to circle back to your program specifically.
Sure.
Like, what are those interactions with your students like? Because I know how you are with me, but what does that when a young person's in your program, whether they're like, I like the part that you said, whether you ultimately become a cosmetology or got history thereof. I want to hear some of those elements of your program.
So Next Level Cosmetology Camp for Kids is the world's first after-school cosmetology program for children elementary through high school. We started off as a summer program, okay? We are in 15 schools in Fort Worth ISD, the Fort Worth Public Libraries, and we're in Kuwait starting in the 2025-2026 school year.
Wow.
I say that to say I have all types of students from everywhere. And the part that I'm going to miss, because sometimes you get too big to be in a place with each one of them, all of them are different. And they're so dope. Like Paris. Paris is 11.
Hey.
But Paris is so, like, eclectic. And she doesn't even understand like that right now because you could be made fun of for that. I encourage it. I'm like, go Paris, be weird. And Paris is 11, and I create like a dynamic between the older girls. So we have ages 6 to 18. The 18-year-olds on down to 12, you're responsible for them. They're your little sisters. So we create community. So even dealing with that with Paris, all of them had compassion for Paris. One of my students, Zach identifies as a male. Me and Zach have had heart-to-heart conversations to where when we went this past summer, we got an award from the city of Fort Worth for the work that we've done with Next Level Cosmetology Camp for Kids. Zach is also an artist. Zach painted transgender portraits with the flag incorporated into the hair.
Dang, that's what's up.
It was beautiful. So what I love about my program is I allow my students to shine just the way that they are, because I understand that. It ain't nobody out there like you.
Real talk.
And a lot of the times when you're young, you know, you color outside of the lines and then they go, no, you're supposed to trace. And but that's what cosmetology is about. That's what being an artist is about. If you box the way that I think, then you can pretty much mess up who I was supposed to become. So I got tons of stories about my students. I get phone calls, text messages all the time. One of my other students, London, and London and Paris are like oil and water, which is hilarious. But London's grandmother texted me and said, London wants to be CC the Great for career day. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm honored. But she put like London the Great on her stuff and she wore it to school. But we deal with all types of children. Sometimes the kids suffer from depression. I have kids in my program who have tried to commit suicide. All types of things. And Next Level Cosmetology Camp for Kids, we deal with every area of the child.
That's
like,
what's up.
I love it.
Can I double click on one thing? Because you were talking about successful hairstylists versus those who aren't successful. And one thing that I observe as what you're speaking to is it becomes more than just doing hair. At a certain point, your work, the best of the best, those who are around for generations are those who they're really helping that person solve identity and bring their best self to the surface. And it's expressed in hair, but ultimately it's that attitude exchange where you are behind the chair and you're helping someone weave the narrative of self, you know, which I could see where going through a cosmetology program and all that, whether you ultimately do that hair, those are some of the intangibles. I'm thinking about those who tune into the Future Maker podcast. They are leaders in so many different industries, right? Who ultimately shifting dynamics and how they staff, and you know, they're just looking at their businesses differently and how the next generation of talent is trained and those skills get cultivated in the next generation. People are solving for that.
Yes.
And you clearly have a winning solution. So are there any learnings that you could extrapolate from the way you have approached skill development, right? You've kind of hinted at it a bit more about like, you know, I'm empowering, then, you know, the skill, whether you do it, but are there some other things where another leader could take away some learning and apply it to plumbing or how to build those trade with young people or any other HVAC, anything?
Yeah, I agree. There are different ways to be smart. And that for me is a big deal. You may be mathematically smart. She may be good at reading, but we got visual learners, spatial learners. We have people who connect with nature. And one thing that I would tell a leader to do is connect with the ways that they are smart. Everyone is not the same. I was listening to, I'm going to say his name wrong, Myron Golden. I think I said it right.
Forgive her if it was a little off.
Yeah, but I think I
She's
said
shouting
it
you
right.
out.
But he's so dope. He was talking about the tiers of success or of money in the success. And he talked about nothing against, because we need all these types of people. But the person who cleans the hospitals. they are at because they use muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying that because you have to use more muscle, you're tired, you have to extract more of your time and you earn less.
Mm.
Even somebody that works on the roof. We need you to work on the roof though, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next tier that he talked about was uh, people like us, like content creators. They were third. So I'm skipping number 2 because I forget who they are. But I started thinking about myself while he was talking. I'm like, okay, boom. So we're here. But then he talked about the people who have imagination.
Mm.
We are Imagineers.
Mm.
You have to when you see a space for that, or try to create a space for that. So when I say that, I'm thinking about when you said plumbing, for example, or being an electrician. Go to the imagination part of your mind and say, what would that look like for me to create something that's going to help several people? Not just me cleaning one hospital room or fixing a light for one person, but I'm going to make more. And not even because I'm thinking about the money,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm solving for a problem.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help the next generation? And it's beautiful because the next generation, I guess let me go back to the older generation. They were big on, college, and nothing against college. College is very important.
Mm-hmm. We're going to double click on that.
Right. But there are other ways. And if you can encourage that young person, because everybody wants to be a YouTuber, everybody wants to be a podcaster, but can you own like the podcasting company?
Mm.
Couldn't you own the space to teach the next generation how to become plumbers?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't you own an after school cosmetology program where you just teaching a couple kids, even let's just say little boys, 5 little boys once a week, how plumbing is important? Because everybody need a plumber. But I think people don't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
They think I feel like,
and I think I think you bring up a critical point. First, that there are just multiple ways unto success.
Yes.
But particularly in skill development, really applying, like helping if you can help the individual connect to my gifting, like I'm really operating in passion, that ability to be flexible and be able to navigate no matter what comes to the surface, I think becomes much easier. Becomes much easier when they don't feel like you've tried to box me into this.
Right.
A lot of individuals get trapped in that. I feel like I have to be this. So many people counting on me to be this.
Right.
And they live their life under this pressure of people around. So I'm glad that you're like encouraging people to explore different ways.
Yeah, because I know that pressure. My mom had me when she was 14 years old, and she had already set up for me what she wanted me to become. But it's like, girl, like I'm doing hair. Yeah. And it worked for me. I tell kids all the time, you have to fight to be who you want to be. We ask this question when we speak. I say, do you want to follow the crowd or make your family proud? And some people say follow the crowd, and I'm not mad at it because sometimes it's fun to follow the crowd. But then, okay, we're making our family proud, but what about making yourself proud? If real. I love animals and I'm outside as a 5-year-old and I'm picking up snakes, they might need to teach you the right one to pick up, but you don't need to be discouraged because of someone else's fear to go into a career. It needs to be nurtured. And so that's what I enjoy.
That's dope. I want to go back to the piece you talked about with one thing we're really big on here at the Future Maker podcast is helping the young person to think beyond being the consumer. You talked about instead of just being a content creator, can you create the platform? Can you create a unique mic that you can sell to all the YouTubers, literally, right? Can you open up a content studio and be the broker? And so like that's a huge push network of what I think the future innovators need to really grasp. And that's why I'm really proud of what you're doing, helping people to rethink it, think beyond what you can execute with your own hands. It does require a lot more work to build systems that then other people can step in and execute the work. Most people are really talented, but it is a different set of skills to take that talent, build processes, refine those processes, test them. It takes a lot of patience. It's oftentimes a lot easier to just do it yourself. I make the chicken. I ain't write no recipe down. I know it's this. It take time to write it down, be
Yeah.
clear. But if you do it once and you do it well, you
My
spend
shoulders
6
hurt
months.
with you saying it right now.
I mean that
But it's the truth.
scalability, the
Yes.
scalability. We
I'm
gotta
in the thick of that right now because
talk about that.
Cosmo Camp, I always call it the Michael Jackson of my of my businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done a lot of dope stuff. But I thought about Cosmo Camp and I was like, oh, it's going to be a summer camp. And it said, boom.
Wow.
Right?
Michael Jackson.
Right. The Michael Jackson of my children, of all my businesses. And I just, it's not going to die early, though. We love Mike, but he did his thing real quick and real fast, okay? Where we're still talking about him. My daughter loves Michael Jackson. But saying that to say, with creating processes and procedures, you have to be able to replicate yourself. You know what I mean? Like everybody is so in love with Chick-fil-A. Like, oh, they got the best customer services. But the owner was able to duplicate itself. And like you said, that is something I'm dealing with right now, trying to find. I even have to tell my students when I'm gone, 15 schools, they will message me. Even the teachers, Miss Cece, where have you been? And I have to tell them, you don't know the lady who owns Girls Inc. You don't even know her name, but her program is up here at this school. And I love that they love me, but creating yourself over and over in the processes and procedures, that is important. And what I would encourage someone to do is, like they say, spending money is a part of business. You have to go out and hire the people who can do what you need. So if you don't know how to recreate those policies, procedures, those processes, you need to employ the right person, because maybe you are the talent, maybe you are the vision, and that's dope because we need the vision, but you also need people who can execute the vision. So
that's big.
That's where
big.
I'm at right now.
Well, I want to know what were your books about?
I'm talking about Next Level Cosmetology.
No, I'm talking about them international best-selling books. What's them books about?
Number one international best-selling
what were those books about?
author. The first book. So they're both the same name, Girl, Hold Your Own Damn Purse. It's about giving people back their stuff so you can hold your own. So about 5 years ago, it's just like everything was unraveling for me. And I was like, I must be toxic because I attract toxic people. And my therapist was like, you're not toxic, you're codependent. And I was instantly, because I'm dramatic, I was like, ugh, and I wanted to tell me your mama codependent. I was just so angry. I was, because I think about a codependent as a person who is a doormat. And I was like, people don't walk over me. They don't get to say what they want to say to me. I'll go off. And he said, Cece, that's two sides to the same coin. And I was like, so I'm not balanced? I've been talking to you for 5 years. And you just now let me know I'm not balanced. But I wanted to know what was wrong with me, because if I'm toxic, I want to fix it. And he said, toxic people need codependents to hold them up. And I started to think about it. And when I got off the phone, I was like, I started Googling stuff like, oh, we're controlling. And I was like, I am. And then I was like, oh, I don't let people run over me. But if you're my friend, like my close friend, my family, my loved one, I let you get away with a lot. But then I explode. That's not balanced. And so what happened was I started journaling. And then I heard clear as day, put it in a book. And it was only 19 pages. And so I put it in an ebook. But what made me write it too, because I was like, well, I don't have no ABCs, LMNOPs, PhDs, I'm still CC the Great, but I don't have all of that. But I need them to say it the way that I say it. Girl, hold your own damn purse. If I ask you, TC, you're a man, TC, would you watch my purse real quick? You would. You might watch it like this, but you're a grown man, so you'll sit it right there. You'd be fine. But you'd hold my purse. But what happens is now you're not able to focus on yourself because you're like, oh, I don't want anything to drop out of CC's bag, or I don't want to misplace it. But that's what happens in our life. We're so busy watching our wife's purses, our kids' backpacks, our work briefcase long after we're off work that we can't focus on becoming a future maker.
That's big.
And even if you are building your future, it's not executed to the way that it could be because you're so busy taking care of everyone else's thing. And that's where it came from. Girl, hold your own damn purse.
Wow.
Clock it.
Wow. Make sure you go get that. Okay?
Right, on Amazon.
One thing that has radically changed my life is becoming a parent. I buried my mother in 2015, And then I had my first child April of 2016. So my mom never got to see my kids. So that's something that fuels my parenting.
Yeah.
I graduated cosmetology school December 2017.
Okay.
My son was born January 2018.
Oh, wow.
I opened my salon February
Clock it.
2018.
Clock it.
I left the job I was at April 2018.
Period.
It was a run, but I had
Yeah.
very young kids.
Yeah.
But I was so focused, working on the business, in the business, 16, 20-hour days, 7 days a week for months on end. I wasn't really showing up as a dad. Pandemic really slowed it all down, recalibrated. Investing in children on the front lines, all that it requires to lean into helping them find that identity, it radically changed who I am. So I want to, what's your take on parenting? What has parenting done to you? What has it meant in your life?
Oh, parenting is like, it's my favorite thing. I like my daughter. There are days when I don't like her, but I like her. I mess with Harley heavy. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was only like 3 weeks, early. Immediately, I said, "Hey, Harley." Immediately. And if anybody said that it was a boy or anything different than what I thought of her, I stopped talking to them till I had my baby. I'm so for real. Only thing we were confused on is the spelling. We already knew she was going to be Harley the Great, Harley Day, period. And so I knew I knew that I wanted her to be what I offered to the kids at cosmetology. I wanted her to figure out who she was and to cultivate that. I don't try to make her be me.
That's what's up.
Luckily, though, she's a chip off the old block. She's so
Apple
dope.
don't fall
right.
too far, they say.
Seriously, she's funny. She's fun. And one of the things, too, that I'm blessed for is our career. I'm a cosmetologist. I own my own salon. My baby came to work with me.
Come pop out.
My baby go with me everywhere.
Yeah.
And especially if I have an opportunity.
Yes.
If I go on TV, if
Let's get it.
I don't know, whatever it is, my daughter is coming because she has to learn through hands-on to be able to see, because to me that's something that school takes away. They have this structured way, and sometimes not even structured, more like prison. You showing up, this is what you have to do. But if I, in any way possible, show my daughter the best way to do it, and it's up under my tutelage and she get to see it, she's coming. That's what legacy is important to me.
Indeed.
I believe in legacy. I believe in nepotism. I believe in all of that. Because if that's the case, even with just talking about America, period, what is our forefathers? We're big on our forefathers, our ancestors. Yeah, and when I go, I'm going to be somebody's forefather, someone's ancestor. What is the reason and the purpose of doing all of these things if you can't leave the world greater for the people who are coming after you?
Wow.
Even with Next Level Cosmetology Camp for Kids, with my baby, all of that, it's all legacy. And so being a mom is fun. It's hard because I worry about certain things. I'm like, oh, my God, she's in high school. Oh, my God, I hope she knows that she's beautiful. I tell her all the time, I raised her to be this courageous, beautiful, smart person, but I always wonder, does she really know who she is? Does she know that she's that girl? Like, I'll call her dad in a minute and be like, boy, we did that. Like, she is, seriously, like the light of my life. But it's like having a gift in the world and people not knowing how to handle your gifts. Because I taught my gift how to be a gift to other people. And so being a parent, being a cosmetologist, being a business owner, it really worked out in my favor because I was able to take my daughter everywhere with me at all times. So I'm grateful. It's hard, but what do you say? They ask me why I do it, who I do it for, and how I come up, hits up in the studio for Harley Day.
That's what's up.
For the people that's coming behind me. I have this speech that I do. It's called the Arrow Army. And I talk about my great-great-great-grandmother, Grandma Julie. And she's so pretty, like, drop dead gorgeous. But she was a slave, and she was responsible for cleaning homes. Her children are mixed because she's so pretty. You follow me? My great-grandmother, Ione, she was very dark-skinned, very much giving Celie from Color Purple. She was abused, treated real bad. But she had my grandmother, Princess. My grandmother, Princess, drop dead gorgeous. My grandmother, Princess, is a hard worker. She had my mom, Patrice. Patrice got pregnant at 14, and she fought. When I think about them, each one of them had an arrow in their hands. And their job was to shoot the arrow as far as it could go, not in comparison to another woman, not at just this is what I can do. And when I think about my mom at age 14 shooting an arrow to me, she did that. She shot it because I'm CC the Great. When I think about my daughter and my legacy, I ain't even let the bow go yet. My job is to bend that bow back so far that when it finally does release, she'll still have to do her own running, but she gonna be like, my mom did that. She paved the way. She made sure. I don't want her to have to deal with the giants that I could have slayed before she got here. That's what keeps me going. Even when it comes to mental illness in my own self and my own family, I'm like, no, I got to take care of that because that's not fair. She's already an only child. That's not fair for me to leave that for her to deal with. And I think that is what being a parent is about. It's not about you anymore. I mean, you still are, I'm still Shakina. I'm still that girl. But at the end of the day, she didn't ask to be here. So how dare me be selfish and not make sure that I knock down as many generational curses, as many things that are in the way for her not, because she's already going to have her own things to deal with, just being a black woman in America. So I love being a mom. It's fun. And I hate when people say broke bestie. I said it before, but I was thinking about that when we was driving over here. I was like, my bestie is rich. She is loved. She is
100.
Cultured. And this is an investment for me into her, not for her to give back to me. Recently, she was proud of me for something. Oh, I won the Funky Town Founders Award.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and shout out to me, and shout out to Funky Town for voting for me.
Yeah.
Right? But my baby, we were at my mom's house, and she was sitting there, and she was like, Mama, you are the Beyonce of Destiny's Children. You are Michael Jackson of Michael Jackson's kids. And she had all of these examples of, you are this, you are that. And she said, you created a program where I have friends, lifelong friends. I almost broke that. She even knew what I was like. Holding it in because I didn't want to mess her up. You know this generation. Once you be like, oh, they're like, never mind.
Yeah, for sure.
You shouldn't be excited that I'm talking about you. Be cool. But I'm like, but for like, and that's her personality.
I ain't even gonna hold you though. I'm sitting here because I'm a thug. I keep it up there. But boy, you got that tear right on it, boy.
Let it go. Real men shed tears too. Thugs
they
cry.
do, but I'm holding it down.
Thugs cry.
A1.
Yeah, but she said all those things about me, and she is the reason that I'm like, I gotta show her because I hate hearers and talkers. My pet peeve. Don't come talk to me and tell me anything. Like, you gotta be a doer. And that's what the future is looking for with the Future Makers podcast. The next generation want to see people who walk for real. Stop talking to me. Don't just show up in front of me when you need my vote. Get your hands and feet dirty. Actually come to the schools. Stop being so judgmental because you was once 12, 14, 15, 18, 22. Yeah. And so I think that even with my daughter, with the other children that I talk to and being a parent, authenticity is key for me. And it made me feel so good to notice that she noticed it. And she told me I was cool. I knew she liked me, but I didn't know if she thought I was cool. She's like, no, you're pretty cool.
That's a win.
Thank you.
One question we like to ask every guest as we are innovators, we're looking on the cutting edge, looking around the corner, and we're serving our young people, serving the next gen. As you look up and you look around, what are some things that scare you?
What's a lot? I just keep hearing like fitting in, because when I'm at the schools, it's like, girl, you or like I have guys in my camp. The guys aren't the problem. The guys come in there, and I thought they would be afraid, like, oh, they don't want nobody saying certain stuff about them. They get in there and do what they got to do. These girls be so worried about trying to fit in. And I try to teach them this is not real. The Bad Girls Club is not real. Natalie Nunn makes money, but it's not real. All the things that they have to do to appear that way. That's not real for you, sis.
True.
And so what makes me afraid is the next generation not realizing that it is okay to be weird, to be the black sheep, to be the odd man out. Now I'm thinking about Dr. Seuss because he said something about being number one. We got to Google Dr. Seuss, but Dr. Seuss had bars, okay? Dr. Seuss been letting you know what to do since you were born. You know, you can't stand out if you want to fit in. You can't be number one if you're going to be number two, because that means that there's a duplicate. You know what I mean? And so I want them to understand. And when I think about my younger self, I'm always like, I saw a video, TC, of me in the 12th grade. And I was like dancing. My friend Puka, he had recorded and he sent it to me like at 40. I was in my room crying because I was like, oh my gosh, she was already dope. I was already her. I was so busy trying to be like them that I was missing out on being Cece, the great. Legendary.
Talk about
like
it.
her.
Yeah.
11 herbs and spices. Like that girl. I was already her and I thought I became her at like 35. Literally, I was like, oh, I transformed myself. No, you believed in yourself.
Yep.
You leaned into that. And so that's what makes me afraid is that people are not okay with just, it's like you're a problem solver, but you're never going to solve it because you trying to be like everybody else. And so that's my fear right now.
Wow. I'll land the plane here.
Sure.
One thing that I say to students every time I'm with them is you are a one of one.
Sure.
Like there's billions and billions of individuals that live on this planet and no one even shares your fingerprint. You know,
Literally.
the unique, that moment you stop trying to be others, you finally can walk in yourself. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for this conversation. We went so many different places. I know there's going to be so many different people who tap into this and connect to different parts. I feel honored. It was a moment, you almost brought me to a tear. But this was special. So thank you for being here. And this was another episode of the Future Makers Podcast.